Hi, I'm Mitch Gross from Convergent Design, and this is the Odyssey7. Now, the Odyssey7 is only an inch thick. It weighs just over a pound, so it makes for an excellent on-camera monitor. But, oh, by the way, it's also a terrific HD video recorder as well. So let's look at it first as a monitor. First off, the screen itself is an OLED panel, and that means it has excellent blacks, really deep, rich blacks, as well as color reproduction that is very, very accurate, get very true colors. So you can really judge your image off of this screen. Now the resolution is 1280 by 800, so it's a little bit taller than a standard 16 by 9 image. And that means that the menu information is actually all outside of picture area. In fact, we can tap a little hide button there. You can see you just have a clean picture. And all of these menus, it's all touchscreen driven, and you can just hold that item and you then get a little menu that tells you additional controls. So here I can switch it to video, and then we could choose to make this just a recorder and we don't have to look at the picture if we find that distracting for whatever reason. You just tap to go back, little tap to adjust, and now you're back at the previous mode. Other controls that we have is, because this is not just a great looking picture for a monitor, but you have lots of other monitoring functions. There is a histogram, and you can see it's set up in RGB right now. We can make it just luma, so just brightness. We could be down on the corner of the frame if you want to be able to look at the picture at the same time. And again, you just tap that on and off whenever you need to. Here's a waveform monitor. Again, this display is set up in RGB at the moment, but we could make it luma, we could make it any of the individual color channels if we wanted to, and we can also take that and go to just a small part of the frame if we ever wanted to switch in and out of that. Here's a zebra, and these are all adjustable again just by going into the menu, and you can change the sensitivity level of that if you wanted to. We can go to a false color mode. False color mode is assigning different colors to different brightness levels, just so you can get kind of a quick reading of the entire screen. And there's a little grading scale down here. It tells you what it all is set to. It basically matches what it comes out of an Alexa or an F55 for their false color modes, but you can program ours completely if you wish. You can even just lose a color if you find that distracting, or you can change the values, anything you want. You can just reset it at any time to get back to where you were. In addition to exposure controls, you also have some focus adjustments. So here is a zoom button, and that lets you zoom into the frame. And what's nice with ours is that you can then just drag it anywhere on screen that you wish, sort of like using a smartphone or tablet. And wherever you land in the frame, you can see there's a full frame, there's a 1:1, and then a 2:1. And you see that it goes back to that same part. It remembers where you were in the shot. And the 1:1 is separate from the 2:1, so that it'll always remember where you were. So it's just a nice handy tool to be able to judge your focus. Additionally, we also have a standard focus assist control. This is a sort of a peaking function. You can see it's set up in blue right now, but I can also change that to red or green, and I can adjust the sensitivity. There's a high, medium, and low, and then you can program them individually, how sensitive you want them to be. There's also just edges, so you can really just see the edges that are in sharp focus at that point, and you can adjust that sensitivity as well as an edge enhanced mode, so you can sort of see the outline of the shapes to get a better sense of what you're framing there. You can just switch that on or off at any time, and you can go back to any mode you want. Really adjust that for what you find is a nice function for the way you like to shoot. Now the next control is a LUT control, and a LUT is a lookup table. What that's for, well, there's a lot of new cameras now that have what is called a log output. And the log output takes the full range of sensitivity of the sensor and records that, so you get a very flat looking image. It's lots and lots of range from black to white, but it's sort of a boring looking image. That's so that you can capture all the sensitivity range of the camera sensor, knowing that in post you'll go and make adjustments, and you can get really a great range out of these cameras. Really enhances it, but it's kind of boring to look at. It's really difficult to light off of because it makes for a flat and dull image. So we have a menu up here that I'll just skip over to, and we can tell the Odyssey all these different types of cameras that you might be looking at, including a bunch of modern cameras that have a log signal. Now here's the ARRI for Alexa log C. Here's Canon C log. That goes for the C100, the C300, and the C500. From the Sony FS700, here's S-Log 2. From the Sony F3 and F35, there's the original S-Log. And then on F5 and F55, they have both S-Log 2 as well as S-Log 3. So you have lots of different options that you could put through there. If you select one of them, then that'll activate the LUT button, and you tap that and you'll get a normal looking Rec 709 standard HD video color and contrast kind of image. So you can light off of that, but you'll record the log image, and you can always also go back and forth, so you can use your metering tools on both of them and really be able to judge what your image looks like, if that window is blown out or if you're going to see detail in some dark shadow area, things like that. It's very, very useful, and a lot of other monitors and recorders don't have this ability. We can fully take advantage of that while not affecting the recording that you choose to do on your files. Additionally, we have frame line guides that you can select different frame lines. This particular one is set up to our 2.39 frame for a CinemaScope kind of frame right now. In the OLED menu, there's some basic brightness and contrast controls. We also can adjust the color gamut from the standard Rec 709 video to DCI P3, which is for a sort of a theatrical projection format, a little higher end sort of thing. But if this is a monitor that can do it, that the next monitor up from from the Odyssey7 that could really be able to do to show DCI P3 is about a $15,000 option. So it's pretty amazing that this little screen you can see a DCI P3 image. And there's even a auto flip function in the Odyssey. So if you need to rig this upside down for some reason with whatever your shooting setup might be, you can flip the screen and it'll automatically flip the image over so that it's oriented correctly, or you can choose to lock it out if you're doing some weird underslung rig or something. You can have it locked the same way, and so it is an upside down image, whatever you need to do. Those are the monitoring functions, and as a monitor alone, that's really powerful tool, but this is also a complete video recorder as well for HD video. So we go into menus here. You don't need to go through all these menus right now. I can just show you that you have, again, all these different cameras. You have ProRes 422HQ is the current recording that we have in here, and we will be adding more functionality to that in the future. You have things where you can adjust the trigger to be right here on the Odyssey itself, or you can feed the trigger from the camera itself. There's different input controls for the time code, and the video you can choose progressive or interlaced, and 3-2 pull down for certain cameras that send 24 frames over a 60i signal path, and standard audio and video input controls. For the outputs, you have the overlays, which are all of the screen adjustment tools, image measuring tools. You can choose to send them out on our outputs. Our outputs, by the way, are quite powerful. We have an SDI input as well as an HDMI input, and you can choose between either of those, but you will always have both SDI and an HDMI output active. So it auto converts all the time. You don't need a separate box you'd have to pay extra money for and have to arrange power for and things like that. It always is actively doing it inside the Odyssey7 and sending those signals out, whether you have an SDI in or an HDMI in. Both the SDI and the HDMI outputs are always active all the time. So that's one nice set of outputs. And then there's even, adjusting the headphone volumes and a record tally. If this is rigged on a camera somewhere up on a crane or something, you can have a signal come out on the screen just to let you know for a separate monitor that, hey, it's recording, and you can actually know what's happening over at your Odyssey. In addition to that, you can look at just different basic information menu things. It's all very straightforward. You can see how much power it's using at any given time, what your battery life is like, what type of signal is coming in, and then how we're recording it. Here's that record button. Here's how much memory you have left on your recording SSD drive. And by the way, one 256 gig drive, which is the smallest we make, in ProRes 422HQ, if you were shooting at 24 frames a second, you get over 2 hours of material. So it's really a lot of recording power that's available in here. There's a clip function, so you can go ahead and program in all the metadata for the file names that you want, some other information about the previous take that you just did and how much information was on it if you want to keep track of that, as well as a full audio menu and controls there. And then right here is a play record mode, so you can go back to whatever shots you just did, and you have a full playback system here on the monitor. So I can play a shot live in real time, and if I pause it, I can step advance individual frames or go back individual frames. I can, if I create a playlist, if you look right here, you can choose a bunch of files, and then you could skip back and forth between different shots, different takes. And then there's this bar right here, which is a scrub bar. So I can actually scroll through the shot, and I don't actually have to use this bar right here. I can use the whole screen if I want, and really fine detail. You can see the watch hand is moving. I'm actually moving back and forth within my shot, and then I just hit play again. I'm playing from that part again. So it's a very easy, straightforward interface. Everything on the Odyssey7 is designed to be very simple and straightforward to use. Even if you never really plan on using it as a recorder and just as a monitor, it's still extremely powerful and easy to use a device. So we're back to our live image here. Now, the Odyssey7 has a few accessories that are available for it. First off, if we are going to be adding other features over time, and so we'll have free firmware updates that'll be available to everyone. Now, if you buy recording drives, like the one that's mounted in the Odyssey right up here, then you can use that to do updates. But if you never plan on recording it, any video on your Odyssey7, then you might not want to spend the money to have to buy the full recording drive. So then we have this utility drive. Utility drive is a very inexpensive drive that's really just for loading files. You can't record video on here. It's just for loading files into your Odyssey7. In addition to that, we have a download cable, a little adapter, and there's also others that are available from other companies. It's a consumer type connection to be able to go and download the SSDs onto your computer so you get your files off, or if you have firmware that you want to load on to your Odyssey. Now it comes with an AC power supply, and it actually comes with different connector adapters to go universal around the world. But then we also make cables and battery mounts to go onto the back of the Odyssey, so you can get power from anything. You can run from 6.5 volts all the way up to 34 volts. So you have a great range of power possibilities that you could choose to use on it. And then lastly, we also have, as a standard accessory, a hood that just clips over here. I'm not going to mount it up right now, but you can see that way you have a nice sun hood. You don't have to worry about stray light getting onto the screen while you're trying to view your shot outside, and it folds up flat so that you can store that away easily and efficiently. There's also a case that we make and some other basic accessories available for the Odyssey7. So at US price, list price of only $1,295, the Odyssey7 is a fantastic OLED monitor with lots of imaging tools. And oh, by the way, it's also a very high quality ProRes HD video recorder thrown in there for your added benefit.